All right, let's do one more. I want to do Amy Barrett because we don't know who the next justice to leave the Supreme Court is going to be.
Right.
If it's going to be someone on the right, it'll probably be Clarence Thomas. Although, I've talked to people who think he's not going to retire. I mean, if I was him, I would. But there are some people who feel like he likes being on the court, believe it or not.
I think they're carrying Clarence Thomas out in a body bag. I don't think he's going anywhere.
That's what I've heard. And then you got to look to essentially assuming that there is no God and there's no intervention. The next justice to leave the court will probably be someone like Ginsburg or Breyer, and Amy Barrett is the type of pick that would sort of make it look like. And we should say there was a piece just the other day about where do I have that about Jimmy Carter. And how he diversified the courts significantly, and that diversification is getting rolled back relentlessly, it seems, by Donald Trump. But the idea of picking, there's a couple of women out there where presumably she's a woman, yet it turns out she's I think you're right, the handmaid.
Yeah. So the piece you're talking about, by the way, is Mark Justice Stern on Slate. It's a really good piece about Jimmy Carter and all he tried to do. So your listeners should go check it out. No, Amy Coney Barrett is what comes next for the Republicans, right? You are not projecting. I am not projecting. We are not playing identity politics with this. The Republicans have said explicitly in places like the National Review. Donald Trump has said it to his staff. That's been reported by Axios. They have said explicitly that they are saving Amy Coney Barrett for when Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies, because when they overturn Roe v. Wade, which is what Amy Coney Barrett is designed to do, they want a woman to do it. Right. I don't know why. I don't know why that side seems to think that if they smash women's rights with a woman, people will be somehow confused as to the horrible sexism of the decision. But that's what they think. This is kind of like you referenced Clarence Thomas earlier, right? This is kind of their thing where they think that if they can bring one of the members of the oppressed group on to help with the oppression, it kind of makes the oppression better somehow. I don't know why they think that, but that is how they think. And they have explicitly said that they want Amy Coney Barrett to be the one writing the majority opinion when they overturn Roe v. Wade. That's what she's being primed and pumped for this position. And it's not just, and by the way, she's not just against Roe v. Wade, right? She's got issues with birth control. She's got issues with women's rights kind of up and down the ledger here. She's a huge religious conservative. She's written extensively about her views about Catholicism and the law. She's the problem, and she is absolutely what happens if, God forbid, RBG dies before Trump is out of office, whether that's in the next year or in the next 6 years. She's what we get next.
And you're right that she's hostile to reproductive rights. And then the other one is judicial precedent, because that's going to be the way that they do this, right? Is they're going to have to construct and they've already begun to construct this, it seems, in their dicta on a whole host of different rulings on the Supreme Court, how you can justify overturning precedent.
Right. So I try not to get too much into the weeds about precedent because it is a little bit of a legal mumbo jumbo word. But basically, for most of people's lives, the Republicans have argued that they do not want political judges. They want restrained judges who respect the precedent of previous Supreme Courts, right? That's what they've said they've wanted, right? It's under the Federal Society and under McConnell and under kind of our current situation that Republicans have thrown that piece of hypocrisy straight out the window. They're no longer even pretending anymore that their legal goals are anything other than a complete kind of supremacy of the Republican agenda. And if there is Supreme Court precedent that stands in the way of the Republican agenda, they are more than willing to overturn it. They'll have to do some legal fancy footwork to try to say we're not really overturning it, we're just updating it. They'll do some they'll drown it in legalese so it's not as raw as it really is. But their whole point is to directly overturn previous precedent set by the Supreme Court. And Amy Coney Barrett's entire kind of scholarship is based around her arguments for when it's okay to overturn precedent simply because you disagree with it.
I mean, I think that's a good place to sort of leave it. And I should just encourage people. There's 4 more judges to look at, and just the whole piece is hugely important, I think, for everyone on the left to understand the relevance of the Supreme Court. This was a big deal in the run-up to the 2016 election, and a lot of us around here felt like that was not fully appreciated on the left, and the importance of all the flaws that were represented in the Hillary Clinton's politics for many people on the left. This issue was paramount, and I think in many respects that open seat is what led to Donald Trump as much as just about any other thing. Ali Mistal, the piece is Donald Trump and the Plot to Take Over the Courts. People can find it at The Nation magazine. We'll link to it on our front page at majority.fm. Thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Sam.